this was some attributes of value that I use at a financial company. All companies have some basic characteristics of what their criteria for business value is. The question is, how well do we know that inside of a project and the portfolio level so we can create these chunks and we can compare the chunks against each other? You guys following what I mean by that? What I see is a lot of companies get fixated on the improved dollars and reduced cost dollars, the tangible ones they can measure. And there's typically multiple portfolios and they don't look at them all together. You know, I have a project portfolio. There's a budget on an annual basis. It's really the discretionary one. I want to go after these markets, or I want to go into these improvements. There's another portfolio, which is the infrastructure one. Keep the lights on. That's funded, that has rules. Well, the value criteria has to cross both of those. You guys following that? Because I can't do a lot of changes to the organization in the discretionary one because of the maintenance one. So, there's mitigate risk, compliance. These are really critically important. Why do I have to do this Alaris upgrade? Because you want your systems to run in 6 months. Right? The business has to understand the priority of the rework and the retesting and the regression integrity for new product development based on the fact you have to do this maintenance work. So you have to apply the business value to all of it. So that's, everybody following that? That's what we want to make sure the business understands. Look at everything, and you have to really determine what's the priority of the business value to really achieve those trends. So some challenges. If you're all experienced in software, you're probably familiar with a lot of these challenges. Building more than you need. Anybody see that happen? Building lower priority items. Building the right thing wrong, meaning it can't extend it in the future. This one company was very good at building software, but their biggest problem was they were building the wrong thing the right way. And it was taking too long to get the value. So prioritization of what they worked on was actually a bigger issue for them. They had very mature software processes. How many people have seen this study from the standards? Okay, it's one of my favorites, but I like to point out certain things. So, what is it about software that makes us invest in this kind of a behavior? You know, so just for those who haven't seen this study, Standards Group, 1,000 companies, they looked at 2,000 projects, commercial technology projects as well as IT projects. They found that 7% of functionality was always used. And I asked about that, and I said there was a security risk mitigation function that never got triggered. It was considered always used because it was vital to the system. So, you know, this number is pretty interesting. Do you guys believe these numbers? Right? 13% often, 16 sometimes, 19 rarely, 45 never used. So I asked these questions. I said this to the business. I said, do you realize this is a trend? They said, oh, it's ridiculous. So, you know, you have a faster, better, cheaper initiative. Don't build what you don't want. Don't build what you don't use. And so there's some reasons why, but there's a couple issues I want to pay attention to. When do you get this 7%? Is it after we build everything? Or do I get it first, and then I get the 13%, and then I get the 19%, 16%? And if I go in this order, I can start following that trend and say stop building. And hopefully I don't ever build this.
That's assuming you know.
Right, so why would I build something? Right, this is not an intentional thing. Right, hey, go build this, I'm never going to use it. Right, we know we don't do that. We probably, why does this happen then? I have some hypotheses.
Because the users think they'll need it, or because the developers have some good ideas which capture the imagination of the user community.
So the developers think there's value, and so they added it. Hey, isn't this a great thing? I added it. I'm a business guy. I can't test it. I don't know how I'm going to use it. I think there's a couple things. The approach traditionally, which is if in this, I'm going to use this example of this client quite a bit, and I'm sure they're not going to like it, but they've improved, so it's a good success story, right? But the largest project on average was $2 million or greater, and the average delivery time was 599 days. And they said, oh, 16 months. I said, no, it's not. I did research on it. I looked at the average project's life cycle was 599 days. So I'm thinking, so 599 days in advance, you're going to sit down and do all your detailed requirements. And that's one reason why you're going to come up with this. You know, if you asked me to plan my year, I could take a stab at it. But if you asked me to plan my week, which would be more accurate? So the scope that we're trying to take this approach, and then the approach has also got some challenges. And I don't know why we do that. You ask the business, if 45% of your workers aren't doing anything, would you still have 45% of your workers? Then think about it. So the question is, who owns this 45%? It's not technology, it's not IT. You missing my point? The business owns this. Is this problem getting bigger or smaller? So next year, is that problem getting bigger or smaller?
I was asking you a previous question, but I think that the problem is that you've got a bunch of people whose job it is to sell features. And
So the
they're
question
looking
is
at
based on what?
Huh?
So either we're measuring the wrong thing, meaning saying, hey, how many features have you solved?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of software products where you know you match your feature list.
That's good.
You know,
So
you want to
one
look
of
at
the
feature
challenges
list.
from the business standpoint is you own this problem, and it's going to get. Is it getting worse? I call this technical debt. What do you guys call it? Waste.
No, I wouldn't call it technical debt. There's another dynamic which contributes to that as well. Because if you only get one chance to ask for something, you're going to ask for everything you possibly need.
Right. So we need to change that attitude. Don't ask for everything. From a lean agile perspective, we go and say, what do you want next? Just what do you want next? What is everything? We don't ask what is everything you want. We say, what do you want next? The business pays for everything. Isn't that right? Do you guys agree with that?
There's also a complexity issue here. If you're a business manager with 10 big risks to manage, one of which might be perhaps automation that the software is doing, you know, and the other 9 are legal, and it just keeps going. Okay? They'll say, well, let's give us it all, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's,
Yeah.
you know, if that's therefore.
Unfortunately, that hands-off causes real problems. So when I'm talking to business, I'm like, you have to pay attention to this. You wouldn't have 50% of your workers doing nothing. Right? So you have to pay attention. And I've never seen a project come out and say, hey, go remove 40% of my application that's not used. But the business needs to start thinking that way. Because next year, is it costing you more to get the same value out of your portfolio in time and dollars, or is it costing you less? Because that problem will grow. So this is an issue that we need to pay attention to on the business side. It's a business issue. So let's stop adding to it by not asking for everything. And then let's look at how we invest in removing it. I'm going to skip the reasons. Lack of involvement, I think this is not taking the opportunity to say, now that I asked for this, it's no longer needed, so don't build it. Right? Have you seen that? If you just say, okay, you gave me all your features list and we go and build it, and they're always happy when we deliver it, right? Which is more important? Discovery of what's valuable or building it? Discovery. I'd rather spend 10% not to build a 45. Doesn't that make sense?
Yep.
Can't build the right thing if you haven't discovered it first, right? So we also believe that investing in technology should be a partnership where here's what I'm looking for from a value perspective. Well, here's the way we can do that. You know, I've looked at how dominant the technology group has become in our way of thinking. Why would we allow 45% not used as a return on a dollar spent? It's beyond me. It's not what we do from a business perspective. But also the amount of, I look at business requirements. Now you guys all do business requirements, isn't that right? And how many versus system requirements? You see a business requirement that said the system should do this. That's not a business requirement.